Welcome back to another explainer. Today we're unpacking a really critical training module for pharmaceutical quality professionals, Module 7 of the EU GMP Annex 1. We're talking sterilization, aseptic processing, PUPSIT, and APS. And listen, we're leaving things like clean room grades and gowning for another day, because right now we are locking into the absolute core of sterile manufacturing with a highly practical, inspection-aware focus. Let's get straight to it.
Okay, let's dive into this roadmap, which follows the exact regulatory risk hierarchy we'll be exploring today. First up, choosing the sterilization route. Second, sterilization methods. Third, filtration and PUPSIT, and finally, aseptic process simulation.
Section 1. Choosing the sterilization route, or the risk hierarchy. In sterile manufacturing, this very first decision literally shapes all of your downstream compliance expectations.
Let's anchor our baseline vocabulary here. Terminal sterilization is sterilizing the product in its final sealed container. This is the preferred route where feasible. It's the ultimate gold standard, and honestly, the required method of choice when your product can withstand it. If your liquid and its glass vial can handle the heat, well, this is exactly what inspectors expect you to do.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this critical number right here, 10 to the power of -6. This is the sterility assurance level reference target for terminal sterilization. To put that into perspective, it mathematically means the probability of a single unit being non-sterile is just 1 in a million. That mathematically proven assurance, that's exactly why regulators demand terminal sterilization whenever possible.
So let's directly compare these two paths. Terminal sterilization is your method of choice, carrying that sterility assurance level of 10 to the -6. Aseptic processing, that is a higher risk fallback. It absolutely requires intense justification via quality risk management. Do not ever treat aseptic processing as your default. Ask yourself right now, looking at your own operations, can my product be terminally sterilized?
Let's put that into practice. Imagine a regulatory inspector is standing right in front of you. Under Annex 1, when a product and its container can withstand the process, the required method of choice is aseptic processing or terminal sterilization. I'll pause for just a second so the process engineers and QA professionals listening can mentally lock in their answer.
The answer is terminal sterilization. This quote, straight from the source, brilliantly illustrates the regulatory mindset. Terminal sterilization in the final container is the method of choice where feasible. Aseptic processing is used only when terminal sterilization is not possible. Remember, this choice has to be formally documented in your contamination control strategy.
Moving on to Section 2, Validating Sterilization Methods. You've made your choice on the decision tree, so now we focus on how we prove our chosen method actually works.
There are a few reproducible paths here. Moist heat, usually steam, is preferred where compatible, requiring defined reference conditions and an F0 value. Dry heat is fantastic for heat-stable items and depyrogenation. Then we have radiation for suitable materials. But listen closely, a sterilization method is only as good as its validated real load pattern. Every single cycle must be validated for the exact load patterns you run in production and, of course, routinely monitored.
Section 3. Sterilizing filtration and PUPSIT. This is the next branch in our process matrix. What you absolutely must do when your product is a heat-sensitive liquid and you simply cannot heat it.
You have to filter it. A sterilizing grade filter is a filter validated to retain a defined microbial challenge, producing a sterile filtrate. This is typically a 0.22 micrometer rated filter, but you have to recognize that filtration adds massive risk. Why? Because you can't test the sterility of every single unit produced. You're relying entirely on the integrity of that tiny filter membrane.
Enter PUPSIT, which stands for Pre-Use Post-Sterilization Integrity Test. Simply put, it's testing a sterilized filter for its physical integrity before you use it. It's the required regulatory safeguard to verify that your filter actually survived the harsh sterilization process perfectly intact right before your product hits it.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a chronological reality for your manufacturing line. Step 1, sterilize the filter. Step 2, conduct PUPSIT to ensure it survived Step 1. Step 3, filter the product. And Step 4, perform a post-use integrity test. PUPSIT and post-use testing essentially bracket the filtration step with hard, undeniable evidence that the filter was intact from start to finish.
Now for a crucial mystery for the compliance officers out there. What is the primary purpose of PUPSIT? Why do regulators insist on this really difficult pre-use test rather than just relying on the post-use test at the end of the batch?
See if you can recall exactly what risk PUPSIT is designed to mitigate.
The answer is to detect a filter flaw that could be masked during filtration, before the filter is used. You see, sometimes the product itself can clog or mask a micro tear in the filter during processing, which could make a broken filter falsely pass a post-use test. Annex 1 expects PUPSIT to guard against this exact masking flaw unless a heavily documented risk assessment justifies an alternative approach.
Section 4, Aseptic Process Simulation. Now that we've talked about filters, we need to focus on how we challenge the higher-risk aseptic process itself.
An aseptic process simulation, or APS, is a media fill that substitutes sterile microbial growth medium for your actual product to challenge the aseptic process. You're running your entire process exactly as normal, but filling the vials with bacterial food. It unequivocally proves whether your aseptic process, including the environment, the equipment, and the human operators, can actually produce sterile units under pressure. For the manufacturing professionals listening, you know an APS must be designed to be hard to pass. You've got to incorporate worst-case interventions. You need to include the maximum number of operators allowed in the room, and you must use representative process durations. You are intentionally simulating the worst-case, most challenging, most fatiguing day on the manufacturing floor to prove your controls actually hold up.
And these simulations are not just a one-off task. You have your initial setup, the initial APS. Then, to maintain qualification, you conduct a routine APS test at 6 months and another at 12 months. As a norm, this is required twice per year, per shift, and per line. It's a continuous, rigorous demonstration of your aseptic control.
So the crucial point is this absolute zero. The target acceptance criteria for a media fill is 0 contaminated units. I want to forcefully contrast this absolute zero tolerance against the calculated probability we saw earlier. Remember, terminal sterilization accepts a mathematical probability of 1 in a million? In APS, 0 tolerance. Any contamination triggers a massive investigation and potentially a complete revalidation of your line.
Let's summarize this risk hierarchy arc. Terminal is the choice. Aseptic is the fallback. Bracket filters with PUPSIT. Target 0 in your APS. I want to leave you with this final, provocative question to critically evaluate your own processes. Are your media fills actually challenging your worst-case realities, or are they just designed to easily pass? Think about it. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep pushing for absolute quality.